Hello, dear viewers, and welcome back to our channel, your favorite front row seat to the most dazzling, heartfelt, and downright dramatic moments from the British royal family. Tonight, we're taking you deep behind the velvet curtain, into the illuminated heart of Windsor Castle, as we relive the state banquet held in honor of France's President Emmanuel Macron and his ever-gracious wife, Brigitte Macron. But this wasn't merely a diplomatic dinner. It was the night the Princess of Wales, Catherine, made her triumphant return to the grand stage after months away, courageously battling her own health challenges. So pour yourself a cup of tea, settle in, and let us transport you to an evening that blended centuries of royal tradition with genuine emotion, an event that will be talked about for decades to come. A whisper of anticipation. Even before the sun peaked above the Thames Valley on the day of the banquet, Windsor Castle's stone ramparts were already abuzz with whispered excitement. Senior courtiers arrived at dawn, carrying wax candles and lanterns for the hall. Florists, many of whom worked through the night, laid down miles of silk ribbon, to say nothing of the thousands of delicate blooms they meticulously arranged: ivory roses, English lavender sprigs, and trailing jasmine that filled the corridors with a heady perfume. These blooms were more than decoration. They were purposeful nods to both English heritage and French elegance, symbols of the centuries-old ties that bind two great nations. Dress rehearsals and dining trials. In the castle kitchens, dozen-strong teams of pâtissiers and chefs tested menu items until perfection was reached. They sampled Dorset crab veloute, rich, silky, finished with a whisper of verbena, and debated whether to pair it with champagne lallier or a crisp Ruinart blanc de blancs. Meanwhile, the head sommelier flew to Bordeaux to taste vintages, settling on a Medoc 2015 for heartier courses, then returning to experiment with rare English sparkling wines for the post-banquet toasts. Every plate, glass, and garnish was a note in a carefully orchestrated symphony of flavors. RAF Northolt, the royal welcome. By late afternoon, the presidential jet touched down at RAF Northolt. The first rays of sunshine glinted off the Macrons' red carpet entrance, where they were greeted by Prince William and Princess Catherine. In that pivotal moment, Catherine, resplendent in a bespoke powder blue Dior coat dress, offered Brigitte Macron a bouquet of white roses and sprigs of lavender grown at Windsor. The significance was multi-layered, not only a tribute to French couture, but also a subtle reinforcement of environmental causes championed by both royals. Observers whispered that Catherine's Dior coat, lined in silk printed with the fleur-de-lis motif, was chosen as carefully as any diplomatic accord. A royal motorcade to remember. As the Macrons' motorcade wound through acres of manicured parkland toward the castle, Windsor's ancient towers caught the late daylight, looking almost gilded. Trumpet calls from the household cavalry rang out across the estate, their ceremonial helmets catching the sun's final glow. Crowds of well-wishers, some clutching tiny Union Jacks, cheered as the presidential limousine rolled past, cameras clicking furiously, capturing history in the making. St. George's Hall, a medieval marvel. By twilight, St. George's Hall, the castle's largest medieval chamber, had been transformed. A single, majestic table stretching nearly 50 meters ran the length of the hall, capable of seating 160 illustrious guests. Long before dinner, teams of footmen in ivory tailcoats practiced their silent ballet, memorizing every step, every silk-gloved movement. Crystal chandeliers were polished to a mirror-bright sheen, and tapestries depicting legendary English and French battles were carefully spotlighted, weaving a visual narrative of alliance over centuries of rivalry. The crown jewel, Catherine's arrival. As the king and queen led the Macrons into the hall, cameras pivoted to capture Catherine's entrance, and a collective gasp echoed through the assembled dignitaries. She emerged at the head of the table wearing an ivory Alexander McQueen gown, corseted, floor-length, with Chantilly lace appliques sourced from Normandy. Yet it was her headpiece that truly stole the show, the Greville emerald kokoshnik tiara, its opulent emeralds and glittering diamonds lighting up her silhouette like a beacon. This tiara, last worn by Queen Elizabeth II in 2016, had lain in the royal vault until tonight, and its re-emergence sent social media into overdrive. Hashtags like #EmeraldQueen and #CatherineReturns trended worldwide within minutes. Diplomatic choreography, speeches and toasts. Dinner commenced with the King's address, delivered under the vaulted ceiling that seemed to echo with the weight of history. Charles, holding the same silver lantern once used by George IV, spoke of shared resilience, how Huguenots found refuge in England, how British soldiers liberated French villages in 2 world wars. His speech wove tales of cultural exchange and mutual support, culminating in a vow that our shared light shall never dim. Heads nodded, teacups paused mid-lift, and more than one ambassador dabbed at a damp eye. Then, in an unexpected flourish, Catherine rose, without notes, to deliver her own impromptu toast, to enduring friendship that bridges our histories, to laughter that lightens our burdens, and to hope that guides our nations forward. This unscripted moment, courtiers later revealed, was inspired by a private stroll Catherine and President Macron shared in the gardens that afternoon, comparing Shakespeare sonnets and French poetry. The hall erupted in spontaneous applause. Diplomats and royals alike applauded her warmth and candor. Culinary ballet, 10 courses of splendor. Between speeches, guests were treated to a 10-course feast that spanned British terroir and French finesse. Dorset crab veloute with a hint of verbena, paired with champagne lallia. English asparagus mimosa, drizzled with chive oil and contrasted with a Loire Sauvignon Blanc. Lobster thermidor reimagined with dram by Hollandaise, matched with a Paola fume. Cornish lamb slow roasted, topped with tarragon juice, complemented by a rich Medoc. Palate-cleansing elderflower sorbet, foraged from castle grounds, served in Versailles-style crystal. Venison Wellington, a nod to Windsor's hunting traditions, accompanied by a Chateau Margaux 2015. Mushroom consommé under cloches embossed with the Norman rose. Poached pear in red wine reduction, paired with a Sauternses. Éclair au champagne, light part à choose filled with bubbly infused creme. Petit fours of macarons, mini Battenberg cakes, and gilded truffles, served with a final flourish of English sparkling wine. Each course was choreographed like a ballet, the footmen moving with clockwork precision, their crisp white gloves and silver salvers catching the candlelight. This gastronomic journey was more than sustenance, it was cultural diplomacy on a plate. Whispers in the galleries. After dinner, a select group of guests, ministers, ambassadors, cultural luminaries, were invited to wander the castle's picture galleries. Here, Catherine paused before a newly restored Van Dyck portrait of Charles I, discussing restoration funding with François Pinault, the French art patron. In hushed tones, they plotted a cross-channel art exchange to benefit war-impacted children, a cause Catherine holds close to her heart. A royal waltz under candlelight. Just as the evening seemed to wind down, the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra and the Orchestre de Paris surprised guests with a specially arranged waltz, a seamless blend of Tchaikovsky's Waltz of the Flowers and Debussy's Clair de Lune. Catherine and Brigitte Macron led the dance, their gowns swirling in tandem, a living symbol of two cultures moving in harmony. The hall, once a stage for stiff protocol, became a ballroom of shared artistry. Midnight fireworks finale. As the clock neared midnight, the grand windows of St. George's Hall were opened to reveal a sky ablaze. Firework designers from Paris and London had collaborated, choreographing bursts of azure, white, and crimson above the castle's towers, set to a medley of Franco-British musical themes. Catherine and William stood arm in arm on the terrace, their silhouettes framed by cascading sparks, a tableau of royal solidarity and enduring alliance. Dawn's first headlines. By sunrise, the banquet had generated over 1,500 articles worldwide. The Times declared, "Emerald Return, Catherine's crowned comeback," while Le Figaro offered, "One Reina Moderne, Catherine Brille à Windsor." Social media metrics exploded. Over 20 million mentions of #royal return, #Catherine tiara, and #Macron state visit. Comments ranged from admiration of Catherine's elegance to praise for her unapologetic display of strength and optimism. Historical echoes and lasting legacy. This night will take its place alongside Windsor's most storied events: the Field of the Cloth of Gold, 1520, the Restoration Court, 1660, and the 1957 Commonwealth Conference. For Catherine, it marked her personal victory, a return to the highest levels of state duty, crowned by diamonds and driven by compassion. For the monarchy, it was a demonstration of evolution, honoring ancient bonds while embracing the authenticity of personal storytelling. Your reflections. What resonated most with you? Was it Catherine's powder blue Dior debut at RAF Northolt, the emerald-studded tiara moment, her spontaneous toast, or the midnight fireworks finale? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Every insight deepens our collective appreciation. If this deep dive into royal pageantry and personal triumph moved you, please give us a like, subscribe for more insider coverage, and ring the bell so you never miss our next royal revelation. Thank you for joining us on this extraordinary journey through Windsor's candlelit corridors and into the heart of modern monarchy. Until next time, keep your curiosity aflame and your passion for palace intrigue burning bright. We'll see you soon. ChatGPT